I'm usually not the one to get scared quite so easily. It takes a lot to scare me. But I am here to tell you about the time that I played a very haunted game. I used to be the average Pokemon fanatic, but like tons of people, I grew out of it, so I wanted to relive that nostalgic feeling. I went on to eBay and found a copy of Pokemon Crystal. The seller's name was oddly not there, but seeing as how it was in mint condition, I bought it anyway. I also purchased a Game Boy. 4 weeks later, I received my copy of Pokemon Crystal. It made me think as to why it took so long. My Game Boy arrived 2 weeks ago, but I was too happy to finally get my hands on Pokemon Crystal, so I shrugged it off. I opened up the box, and as usual, there were the packaging peanuts. I dug around in the box and found a crumpled paper buried under the packaging peanuts. Like any curious soul, I opened it and it read, "Be careful while playing this game. Do not keep game past 24 hours. This is a warning." What? I was stunned at what I was reading. Was this a joke? Once again, I dug around and found the cartridge for the game, except it read, "Pokemon Crazy Crystal." I was beyond mad. I had bought a normal version of Pokemon Crystal and I received a hacked version. I decided to get my money's worth and tried the game. I booted it up and was greeted with the title screen. However, it was very peculiar because there was no Pokemon, just the new game option. I chose it and it took me straight to the regular Elm asking you your name, except he asked different questions. Do you love Pokemon? Naturally, I only had the options of yes and no. I chose yes. Will you take good care of your Pokemon? Once again, I chose yes. Will you treat your Pokemon fairly? To see his reaction, I chose no. Elm just said, nothing. I felt bad for saying no, but I got over it when the screen changed to Gold inside his bedroom. I moved around inspecting everything. When I inspected the SNES, Gold simply said, I don't deserve this. I shrugged it off once again. Then I went downstairs. Gold's mom was nowhere to be found. This was strange. It felt odd simply walking out the door, seeing no one stopping you. I walked over to Professor Elm's lab, but when I entered, there was no one there. I walked up to where the Pokemon are and inspected Cyndaquil. Fire types are my favorite, but I digressed. To my surprise, a text box showed up saying, "You stole Cyndaquil." I checked my party and there he was. I inspected the other 2 Pokemon and I got a choice box. Kill? I only had the options yes and no at my disposal, so I chose no. Nothing happened, so I chose yes. The screen faded to black and returned with a text box. Totodile was murdered. Murder? I thought to myself. I didn't want to harm it. I felt extremely bad and saved and put the game down. The next day, my curiosity got the best of me and I continued my save. I returned in Elm's lab. I couldn't help myself. I inspected the Chikorita and once again I was prompted with kill. I chose yes, after realizing it was only a game. Once again it faded to black and then said Chikorita was murdered. I left Elm's lab wondering what else would happen. As I was leaving the town, I was stopped by Elm. He started talking to me. How could you, you animal? They're all dead because of you. I knew Elm was mad at me killing his Pokemon. Then it prompted me with kill. Once again, no would not work, so I chose yes. The screen faded to black and returned and said, "You murdered Elm. You stole running shoes." Elm's sprite was gone. I couldn't believe my eyes. I murdered a man. Then it hit me. Elm wasn't there to see me murder his Pokemon. Then it hit me. I realized that the reason there was no one in the town was because I killed them. I continued on with this feeling of dread. I arrived at Violet City. I lost to the trainers around the gym several times and was prompted with kill. I always chose yes. That's how it went until I reached the gym leader. When I talked to him, he sadly said, "Please just kill me." So I did. No battle. I simply killed him and took his badge. I also got to steal one of his Pokemon. Once again, I couldn't choose no when it asked me if I wanted to steal his Pidgeotto, so out of respect, I chose yes and put the Pidgeotto in the PC. Nurse Joy acted normal as well as everyone else. I assume they weren't aware of the killing. The pattern went on throughout the entire game. I had almost no space for other people's Pokemon. I took 3 hours to release all the Pokemon, so I started fresh. With my level 60 Typhlosion, the only Pokemon I had. I lost almost every match and ended up having to kill. I trained up my Typhlosion once I reached the Elite Four, knowing I had to kill. I killed all of the Elite Four, Silver did not appear, so I expected no one in the Champions Room. When I entered, Elm was there, along with all the gym leaders slowly appearing one by one, then the Elite Four, then the battle started. I was battling Elm. He had an angry face. He had no Pokemon though. My Typhlosion was fainted, so I guess we were fighting each other. Elm used knife. I was shocked. Then it said Gold had been murdered. That was it, I shut off the game. After 1 week, I picked it up again. I looked at the save time, and it said 24 hours. What? But I had been playing for weeks. I couldn't load up my save either. It simply said, "You died."